Folks, I want to apologize. I've already broken my promise about posting once every other week, and I have to blame it on coming down with the sickness known as gamer grime. And if you're not familiar with what gamer grime is, well, pretty much you go to a convention where there's nothing but sweaty, dirty, disgusting, grimy gamers. And it is a contagious disease, so unfortunately both me and my girlfriend have gotten the sickness and are currently suffering through it. And we got it at no better place than PAX West out in Seattle, and it was honestly a very interesting time to go. It was the first time I've ever been to a gaming convention, and I've learned quite a lot. And I've also learned quite a lot about PAX itself, how they organized everything, and this video is going to be spent about talking my experience about going to PAX and how much I've enjoyed it and the parts that I didn't really find too interesting. Now, for starters, I only went on Saturday. I did not go Friday, Sunday, or Monday. I just went on Saturday alone, which partly is one of the big mistakes that we did. We could have done multiple days, and we probably should have, because we learned later on sometime down the road that the expo is a dedicated space that you need to spend almost your entire day going to, because it's nothing but long lines trying to get to everywhere you wanted to go. In some places they didn't have lines, but they had people up front with signs saying that the line is capped, you can't go in, basically. So you were barred from even trying to get into something like the Larian Studios panel, or even some of the pin stations that you could have gone to. But that didn't stop us from going there. We still did our best to go there on Saturday and grabbed whatever merch that we could. I got my Castle Crasher stuff, so I got a nice lanyard of the Blue Knight and some other pins here and there, so had some decent fun whenever we could. But because it was all condensed to one day and there were some dev panels that we wanted to see in the other building, our time was pressed. So definitely a learning step of we needed to spend at least one whole day there and then maybe purchase a ticket for another day to some panels that we actually have interest in. Now, the next part is knowing whether if a panel is actually interesting or not. So the day that we went on Saturday mainly was because my girlfriend and I wanted to go to the Civilization 7 panel, and that was super early in the morning. We woke up for it, went straight to the convention center, and we lined up and sat down in the big theater where they presented everything that pretty much we kind of already knew, but then they dropped some new information and some interesting things that they're going to be adding to the game, like all the different civilizations you can play as, some different leaders, yada yada yada. But either way, they at least talked about what was happening in the game, went into a bit more detail as to why they built things the way they did, and added some new things like dropping some stuff at the end to get us all hyped. And Ed Beach, the main designer for the game, I'm pretty sure was the one that said something along the lines of the Civilization 7 panel is going to be the best one and the entirety of PAX. All the other PAX panels are going to get blown out of the water. Like, this one's going to be the number one, high up on top, best thing ever. And we were all like, woo, yeah, let's go. And didn't realize that he was actually talking the truth, because when we went to the other panels later that day, we were very disappointed. And needless to say, we went to Obsidian's panel about Avowed, so their new game that's coming out that looks a lot of fun, and I can't wait to actually get my hands on it if I'm able to. But unfortunately, when we went, maybe we didn't fully understand what the title of the panel was entailing, but a lot of people filled that theater. But the majority of the entire thing was just lore dumping about previous games that relate to Avowed, but nothing about Avowed's gameplay, nothing about Avowed's actual build up development.
Yeah, give it for Josh, if he's watching out there. So we're going to get nice and cozy now, and we're going to speak with both Carrie and John about adapting this world and exploring this new part of Aora with the Living Lands in Avowed. So the first thing I'd love to hear from you both, we talk about with Josh saying to receive the baton. And both of you worked on the previous titles in some capacity.
It was just talking about all their previous games that they had that built up to Avowed and just went from there. And it was so bad. People were actually leaving the theater, and I ended up leaving the theater too. And, from what I heard, because my girlfriend's brother stayed throughout the entire thing, that at the end they only showed 2 minutes of gameplay. So cool, I guess. What else is new? Right? They showed us trailers like a long time ago about what this game's going to be like. And I honestly didn't care if that gameplay actually was revolutionary or new, because the entire panel was just a snooze fest. There was literally a point where I could have just passed out in the middle of the freaking theater because of how boring it was. They were just ugh. But the sadness didn't stop there when it came to the other panels, because the next panel that we went to was one about the history of food in video games, which seemed very interesting as a concept in terms of talking about with these panels. And when we went, the first half of it was actually not bad. It was really good. They talked a lot about the origins of food, where food first came from in video games, how they inspired building upon just consuming food and actually making food, and how video games have progressed to using food as a health source and now actually somewhat teaching people how to cook through other games. And then it devolved after that, and it turned into a lot of talking about my personal experiences growing up at like this and that, what I do in my YouTube channel or my Twitch channel, lots of self-promotion, lots of talking about themselves growing up. Barely became anything about food other than just talking about food. And it really seemed like the four people that were presenting, the first two actually put in the most effort, and then the last two were just thrown in for the assignment. So if the way how it works, like at the college presentation, the first two guys did all the work, the other two just rode their way to getting an A. It really became a snooze fest, to the point where we were just talking amongst one another, saying things like, what are they talking about? Like, what happened to this panel? It was so good at the very beginning, and then halfway through it just fell off a cliff. And again, we were reminded that a lot of these panels kind of just sucked. And that's just two examples out of the entire day, because let's be real, how many panels are you going to go to in PAX? There's so many things going on at once. You can't go to every single one of them. So on my Saturday, Civ 7, best one out of all of them. Avowed, very piss poor. And then food, what started off high and then decided it wanted to jump off a cliff. And it reminds me as to why, like, a lot of these things, a lot of these gaming conventions, I feel like are just weird, right? It attracts certain people that are interested in games, and then you have other concepts of things that are talking about, because how often can you talk about a video game for however long you want? Like, I could talk about Halo every single day, but there's nothing new coming about Halo. Halo sucks right now. And then we have no idea what's going on with Civ 7. It's coming out in February. They gave a release date. They revealed a lot of stuff to us, but they're going to drip down and going to have a live stream in September later this month. But then you got Avowed and you literally received nothing. And then you have talking about food and you literally received nothing. You gain nothing from going to those panels. But how are you supposed to know if those panels are good if you don't walk into them? Which is part of the problem, right? You need to pick and choose whether if your panel day is going to be good. Right? How are we supposed to know that the Civ 7 panel was going to be good or bad? You don't know unless you go. And that's why some people buy the 4-day pass. And those who do, you've got the time and the money to do so. Congratulations. Unfortunately, I don't. I only had enough to spend for one day, but at least if I do plan on going to PAX next year, I might have to try and see if I can figure out if I can do 2 days where I pick one day for whatever panels I'm heavily interested in, and then the other day is going to get pins and merch, because those lines are atrociously long. I want to add this in before I sign off. I expected, as a gaming convention, that it would be dirty, smelly, that there would be the stereotypes of people who like don't shower and don't put on deodorant. It was surprisingly clean despite the fact that I got sick. That could be for other reasons, but it was surprisingly clean, not really smelly, very well organized. Surprisingly, I've been told that other conventions don't really have that much organization when it comes to assigning people where to go, the venues and whatnot. So it was a very surprising experience with how fluid and clean that PAX was. And I don't know if that is just a one-time thing, because again, this is the first time I've ever done PAX, let alone a gaming convention. So if this is something that is irregular and you've been to PAX before, let me know down below whether if what I experienced was an anomaly or if that's just how PAX West is. And again, this is PAX West. I haven't been to PAX South or any of the other PAXs that exist. So, other than that, yeah, I enjoyed my experience at PAX. Would I do it again? I probably would. I would need to get the money, and I would need to build up the cash to be able to go for 2 days instead of just one, because honestly, one day was a huge mistake. Learn from me if you've never been. So, with that out of the way, I'll leave all y'all to it. If you like this video, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you want more stuff like this. I am doing live streaming again. As you can see, my lighting is up, so I'm able to go back onto Twitch, and I'll leave a link in the description down below so that way you can follow me there. I'm out of here. I will catch all of y'all later. Peace.